Hey guys, this is Slight. Welcome to a Gunfire Reborn solo R8 Slight's Way Overexplain on the monkey. I'll learn his pronunciation eventually. I don't have it quite yet. That being said, this was a really fun run, and before we jump into actually over-explaining what's going on, I'm going to be taking you through why I'm making each decision that I'm making. But to do that, we really have to understand what Slight's Way is. So let me pull that up really quick. So what you're looking at here is a Gunfire Reborn generator that I built over the past 2 weeks. I neglected to play Gunfire to make this, and I'll put the link for it down below. There will be a future video on it that goes through all the stuff that you can do. If you want to just go ahead and start playing with it, you can click that link. But today we're just going to be talking about Slight's Way just to keep this video focused on what I want to be talking about. Slight's Way is a step up from the maximum difficulty provided by the Gunfire devs with an emphasis on supporting build variety and player adaptability. These rules don't get randomized like the rest of these other ones do. That being said, this is the way I like to play. So we've got our hero randomized as the monkey. The difficulty is always Reincarnation 8 with Mysterious Joe Cool. And obviously, if you'd like to play Slight's Way, but you don't have R8 unlocked, just play the highest Reincarnation difficulty that you can. The rules of this are choose a random hero, and this little generator will always give you a new random hero every time you click Get Challenges. So just for me, I like to get back to Monkey. And there is a multiplayer version, so if you want to play with multiplayer rules, you can do that as well. We're just playing solo today. Skip the starting blessing. This is fine because in Mysterious Joe Cool, we can still get 3 blessings. We just get them after each boss instead of before each act. We cannot reforge Geminis. Now, if you've seen me play Slight's Way, there's a couple new changes, and this one is probably my favorite one. I could go, maybe I'll do a video on specifically this particular update to Slight's Way, but this is an extremely cool way to play the game, and it really forces you to think about what you're doing for much longer in the game, whereas normally you would find a overpowered weapon early on in the game, reforge a Gemini that you want, the exact one that you want, and by the middle of Act 2, you've sort of got your endgame build built. And we will see in this game that that is not something that one can do in Slight's Way. You must always revive if possible, even if you die early in the run, so you're not allowed to just reset early. If you die early, keep going, all right? The point is not to, it's just a rule of Slight's Way. You can play without doing this if you like, and if that's more fun to you, do it. But I highly recommend you do this and sort of accept this sort of the interesting element that comes in when you're playing from behind. I would say that you'd be surprised at how far you get knowing you only have 1 revive. Okay, early in the game, you'll even see it in this run. There are some banned scrolls. There are some banned strategies, no reload abuse, no miasma abuse, no spore abuse, and I say abuse meaning don't use them in their optimal case. So like don't use Demon Lore Advanced Depot, don't do a build that's just like Thunderclap Glove or a Lightning Blast with a high decay elemental share, or any of the spore abuses. I have a good strong sense of what it means to abuse, and you'll see me use a no reload synergy in this run, but it's not one that's abusive. I think it's a really spicy run. And there is one weapon inscription that's banned, and it's the spread elemental effects one, which is just the strongest inscription in the game, I think. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the case. All right, so that's Slight's Way. That's how we're going to be playing, so keep those things in mind. Like, I can't reforge Geminis. This changes the way I play. I have to skip my starting blessing, okay? There are other things here that change how I have to play, right? Okay, so we've got R8 set up, we've got Mysterious Joe Cool turned on, and we're about to hop into battle. So if you've never watched an over-explained video by me, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking you through this run. I'm going to be stopping at key moments and ask you questions that I strongly suggest that you pause the video and answer before moving forward. All right, the point of these is to maximize the effectiveness of learning, and I'm trying to teach some things that I know and even illuminate where I don't know things. I'll try to own that, and if you do see something, let me know. If you do see something where I'm off, let me know. But when I do pause, I strongly suggest you pause, answer the question honestly for yourself, and then hear what I have to say. This will significantly improve your learning. I think you'll get a lot more out of the video. I think this video will be much more effective. We only have 14 minutes of footage to go through, but it will take a while for us to go through it because we're going to be stopping and starting quite a bit. And we really want to get into the nitty-gritty of what made this build effective and why I had to do some of the things I had to do because I was playing on Slight's Way, right? Okay, so first things first is we're not going to take the Spiritual Blessing. So the very first question is, we've got a Scalpel, a Pupil, and a Hexagon. What weapon are you going to take first? Now, I'm always going to give you around 2 to 3 seconds. So when I pause like that after I ask the question, you pause, okay? I don't want to have to say every time for you to pause. So I'm going to give you what I would say the answer is. I think that it actually matters. So I think the first thing is, like, why are you asking me this question? It's the starting chest. Well, it's different, you know? Remember, we're starting without a blessing. And so Longling Tombs can be a crucible, and that means it grinds you up. Like it can easily kill you. When you're playing without a blessing, the game has sort of been balanced around you having a blessing at this point, right? So not having one puts you at a significant damage decrease as to like the expected run for R8 with Mysterious Joe Cool. So we really need something that's good. So Scalpel is a great weapon, all right, but you have to aim, and it can have ammo problems early, all right? Hexagon's a great weapon, but for it to really be popping off and doing crazy stuff, you need to be taking a lot of hits of damage, which means there need to be a lot of enemies, and they all need to kind of be shooting at you. So you need to have like a lot of fire coming at you that's going to hit that shield. But the Pupil, it's different. It is easy to aim. It does incredibly high damage. It's great against shields, of which the elite crossbowmen tend to be, probably one of the more dangerous enemies in the Longling Tombs, and it takes care of them really, really well. And it doesn't have ammo problems. So I think it's a clear winner here, and it's really important that we, you may think that this is a small thing, but we really need to take every possible advantage early. And actually, it kind of keeps going. We need to take every advantage that we can get to stay relevant in the game. And there's a lot less forgiveness when you're playing Slight's Way to be hitting a critical threshold of damage. So I highly recommend taking the Pupil here first. I think it just does everything that we need it to do. I would be happy to take the other two, but not nearly as happy as taking this Pupil early on. All right. Okay, so we're just getting through the early game here, and this Immortal guy's dying, and I come across this Sunder. Now, I don't have a second weapon, all right? So I'm going to pick this up, right? But my question to you at this point is this a good weapon? Should I switch to using this? Is this something I'm happy to see? Yes is the answer. I'm very happy to see Sunder. The main thing that I'm always thinking about, number one thought in my mind when I'm playing Slight's Way and I'm playing in the Longling Tombs is I need 2 types of weapons to be effective, okay? I need a corrosion weapon and I need a piercing weapon, all right? And especially some with like some decent inscriptions, right? This Sunder has a plus 50% lucky shot, which is a great inscription, one of the better ones, on a Sunder which has infinite piercing. The reason I need piercing is because it's incredibly important that I come up with some way for me to take down one or both of the 2 elites that I could run into early on in the run. By having a Sunder, this sets me up to be okay against the elite Horsehead. Should I get him, at least I have some way to actually combat that enemy because I have something with piercing and something that will do quite a bit of damage. I would be still missing something with decay, but I'm really happy to see the Sunder. This is not just a random weapon I get. In some runs, this could make it all the way until I see that elite, which would be maybe 3 or 4 rooms later. All right, so let's go ahead and I just want you to watch how I'm sort of playing through this early game phase. Just take a look at kind of the stuff that I'm doing. This is not going to be sped up if I remember. But as we can see, the Pupils is handling these enemies quite well. And see that fire aggressive monster there? This guy can be very dangerous, but we have a weapon that actually takes care of him quite well. Some of these aggressive or agile people can dodge a whole bunch, and then we're trying to shoot him with a scalpel, and we're just burning through our ammo, and then we run out of ammo, and we have to switch stuff. By using a Pupil, we're literally never in any position where we're out of ammo, or even not even risking it, and we're kind of targeting these specific key problems that are going to be happening in the early game. Like this guy. This guy could kill us. One wrong move and that 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 enemy kills us, right? All right, first Ascension, what are you gonna pick? Drink my coffee. So I think that there are really, we're not happy about any three of these. I think reverse is definitely the weakest. I could be wrong about that, but the way that I'm currently seeing it has the least impact now. Turn to reality seems like it could be good. 70% soul strike damage. That's a chunky damage increase early on in the run. You know, that's going to allow us to be more effective now. But I also think that Ancient Etching is one of these ones that's really good to get early. One of the cool things about Ancient Etching is you get to see that extra inscription on every weapon, right? And so what that means is it colors your perspective as you're choosing a weapon as you go forward. So I really prefer Ancient Etching here. I think getting one extra inscription is probably not as good immediately as Soul Strike is, but I do think it's going to give us more options than Soul Strike is. So I ended up going with Ancient Etching. Although I think there's a fair argument here for Turn to Reality. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. All right, next up we find this TClap Glove. All right, my question to you is, are we excited about this weapon? And so the answer to this is no, this is worthless. I mean, it's fine. We get the magazine capacity, you know, maybe that's something that can be Gemini'd in a normal game, but this is absolutely worthless for us. It accomplishes nothing that we need to accomplish. Doesn't do a lot of damage, doesn't apply corrosion, doesn't pierce. Really, it is a useless weapon right now for us. And I would be very surprised if it doesn't do damage to bosses either. So like, it's not even a good one to like, you know, that's like a fourth tier consideration is like, well, is this good against the you know, the Act 1 boss, and it's not even good against that. So this is absolutely, you know, worth 44 gold. Right. Okay, so I want you to watch how I play through this room again. So I kind of talked about how easy it is to die in the last one. I talked about how dangerous long-leaning tombs can be without a blessing. Normally, as you're playing a solo run here with a blessing, you are streamlining through this stuff. I mean, this usually is just easy peasy. But we are in a different world. You know, one shot, I already lost all my shields because I dodged at the wrong time. Notice how I'm positioning the enemy, you know, behind this pillar while I take care of these horned beetles. It's really important to keep in mind where these horned beetles are. I lose runs because I ignore them. I'm like, they'll be fine, and then they body block you, and you can't jump over them because you know, you can't jump over them for whatever reason, that's their greatest strength, is actually their ability to body block you. And so this bleed aggressive monster, the second that I saw that, all right, and I've been training myself to look for bleed, to look for aggressive, and especially to look for those two together early on, that enemy can easily kill me, all right? So I need to be really, really careful, and really try to play even more carefully than I am right now, because yeah, I really got close to dying right there. And if I didn't have Monkey's natural talent that kind of gives him an extra life, I would have died right there. So thankfully I'm playing Monkey, because otherwise we'd be in dire straits. Love to see Phantom Skin here, that's great. Super, super powerful scroll. Okay, so real quick, I go into this next room, I start killing these people, you know, I'm fighting them and everything. And so this guy, you know, I'm dodging the spearman, right? Reloading my weapon, and I cast my Soul Strike, okay? I want you to think, ask yourself, like, why am I casting Soul Strike here? You know, why don't I just wait? I'm only casting on one enemy, all right? What's going through my head, you know? Pause the video, try to think it, come up with your own answer. Okay, so the key thing here, all right, it's very important, especially with these cudgel builds, especially when you don't know the relative power level that you're at, that you're sort of testing components of your damage so that you have a sense of kind of where you're at in the damage realm, all right? So what I'm doing here is just testing what one cudgel looks like on a spearman, all right? Now, I'm also being efficient. I was reloading, and one thing in Gunfire Reborn is once you start the animation of reloading, you can cast spells, any kind of ability, secondary or your primary ability, without stopping the reload, but the reload has to start first, has to fully begin. So I was being efficient in that way, all right? But also, it's nice for me to know exactly how much damage this Cudgel's doing at this point in the game. And you'll notice something, I don't know if you noticed about Cudgel, but when you use Cudgel with any weapon with multiple projectiles, the Cudgel hits that many times, up to 10 times, and anything more than 10 gets scaled correctly. So if I had 14 projectiles and they all did 100 damage, that's a 1400 damage. Instead, I would do 10 hits, so like 10 projectiles at 140 damage. So like it accounts for the extra projectiles you had, but adds them to the 10 like instances of damage that it does. Just a little bit of things. So just to make sure you're understanding me, Cudgel does the same amount of hits as your weapon's projectile chance. So like if you have 3 projectiles and you throw a Cudgel at someone, it will hit them 3 times for that damage. This will come into play later. Goodbye. He's dead. Wow, I just want to see that again. You know what? You just... Bam! You know, sometimes it just feels right. Alright, Ascension. What is the pick? Okay, so I'll be honest, this one took me a really long time. I stared at all 3 of these for quite a bit of time to try to get a sense of what I wanted to do. I really don't have a build yet. Smash into Dust seems good, but really it's only good if my Cudgel's doing a critical amount of damage. Raging Waves is okay, but really it's only good, again, if I'm going into this sort of Cudgel kind of build thing. Wombo Combo I've never used before. It says every 5 hits of Chain Essence will trigger 1 Soul Strike with a Cudgel hit. And so I was looking at these and I kind of thought they were all about similar power level. I think I'm wrong now that I've played it. I think Wombo Combo is definitely the pick. The main reason why I think Wombo Combo is the pick is that it does a little bit of everything, all right? It synergizes with Cudgel and with Essence Chain, all right? I don't have a build picked out yet, and I don't have the luxury to force a build because of a blessing, right? A blessing sometimes, fix my collar here. A blessing sometimes makes up for a lack of good Ascensions, but I don't have that. So Wombo Combo allows me to remain flexible. It puts my 2 feet into both worlds of Essence Chain and Cudgel, and it ends up being extremely good this run. So I end up going Wombo Combo. I think it's the right pick after seeing that. Okay, what just happened? This might have been a... oh, no, I don't know what happened there. I must have clicked the wrong button. Okay, so... all right there. I just made this right here. I just made a huge mistake. What is it? What's the mistake? Look, I'm killing it. I'm not afraid. What kind of mistake would I be making? You know, you could say I let him get too close, but that's not the mistake. Okay? That isn't the mistake. I mean, I did let him get too close. That is a mistake. I should have probably been more careful here. You know, if I had been more careful, it would have saved me. But I, being slight, know exactly everything about Gunfire Reborn, of course. So why would I need to play more safe when I know these guys are coming? What? So, Essence Chain doesn't knock them away when it kills them. It kills them in their spot. And so they kind of keep going and they throw their box head. Now, normally, I don't think this is the case when you kill these creatures. I think a lot of time when you kill them, it knocks them away or down. Sometimes it knocks them forward. You know, maybe there's a mechanic here that I'm not quite sure of. But what I do know for sure is that I did not expect these enemies to just absolutely throw their box head at me. Maybe that's just me not being on my game. But the big mistake that I made was not accounting for that. And boom, dead. All right, how far are we into this run? All right, we are 4 minutes into this run, but your boy Slight, he's gonna revive. Those are the rules, all right? Don't give up, never surrender. I can still win this, all right? I don't care how far along I am. And guess what? This run goes for another 40 minutes, so, all right? And so now I correctly account, look how far those things go, all right? So then I correctly account for them coming at me, but that's something you need to keep in mind. Those things kind of throw their heads at you. You know, I don't think it's going to be as big of a problem for most people. I think that was overconfidence on my part. Okay, so we find this Peddler. There's kind of a lot to talk about here. Resolute is a scroll that I end up picking because even though it doesn't synergize with us and it doubles the time that our shield rests before recharging, if we get an opportunity to go for a pure HP build, it's very strong, and it doesn't really have a horrible payoff right now. So I'm happy to take it, just the off chance that it enables a future build path if you get flesh and bones. And if we get something like silver metal, for instance, then it's just upside, right? Because we get Resolute until we kill an enemy, and then we get you know, our shield starts to recharge, right? So I do take Resolute here. This Crimson Fire Scale I also really heavily consider, and I do end up picking, mostly because it has the accuracy, reload time, and then the 50% rate of fire when it's above half full. This combination of Ascensions is like a critical sort of mass of effectiveness for a Crimson Fire Scale. And while it does not do piercing or decay, it does a lot of damage. And that is another good reason to take something if it just happens to do a huge amount of damage. And this one absolutely does. So this is sort of an accuracy is incredibly important on the Fire Scale. I mean, I would not take this if it did not have the accuracy stability. Next up, we're here to get Against the Flow. I am totally okay with using Against the Flow as long as we're not using it for an overpowered, no relief synergy. Like if this Crimson Fire Scale we just picked up had the plus 0.2 projectiles per kill up to 2, I would not be using. I would not be using Against the Flow. All right, I would just skip it or something like that because, or I would get rid of the Crimson Fire Scale, one of the two, because that is just like too powerful. That's sort of what I would consider abusing the no reload synergy, and it's because the type of weapon we're using. We're using like this incredibly like A tier Crimson Fire Scale with excellent inscriptions, and we're abusing like a no reload synergy, right? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Now here we get a sick Aura Venom, and I love to see this. Okay, it's got a really powerful exclusive. It's got crit multiplier, which is good. That crit is only active when we have our Essence Chain going. And then we've got that Rate of Fire, which is only okay. I don't think the Rate of Fire really affects the secondary fire, and I'll probably be using it mostly for the secondary fire. But very happy to see this Aura Venom. And so I think what we see here is that I end up with the Crimson Fire Scale and the Aura Venom. And I am very happy with that. So basically what I've lost is my ability to deal with a piercing enemy. But that's okay because I have a really, really good weapon against the Elite Spearman. Very powerful, okay? I don't have anything good against the Elite Horsehead, but I didn't have anything really good against him anyway. Like that Sunder was probably not going to do enough damage to really justifiably allow me to actually go through all of that time to kill the Horsehead. It's a little bit too dangerous. All right, here, this is just the very next room. I come and find a Phantom Peddler, and I want you to tell me whether or not I pick Enhanced Corrosion Enthusiast or if I refresh to try to get a different one. I'm assuming you've paused already. So this was a really hard decision for me, mostly because Enhanced Corrosion Enthusiast is one of those love-hate relationships I have with scrolls. It's very, very, very powerful. And I ended up taking it because I actually have anti-synergy with it. I was on the fence about not taking it, but I kind of convinced myself, it's like, hey, this is not, like overpowered, right? I'm already down 1 life, getting the 40% move speed. So basically, just to make this clear, you get minus 20% damage taken and plus 40% move speed 100% of the time. But then, on top of that, whenever you inflict decay on yourself. So you're getting this like massive move speed. It's 40% move speed buff and 20% damage taken all the time. And then this sort of negative thing with a decay application. So I end up taking it. And then I see this Bone Dragon right here. Okay. Is this Bone Dragon? Nah, I think you just saw. I think you saw me take it. All right. So the test is over. I take this Bone Dragon. My question to you is why? Why do I take the Bone Dragon? Okay. So I take the Bone Dragon for a couple reasons. One, it has a no reload synergy that is not abusive. It also has the damage increase, okay? And that's really, really important because it makes Cudgel do more damage, all right? The reason I'm taking this is because I think it's like S tier, not S tier, it's really, really spicy synergy with Cudgel's ability to, when you're holding a launcher, it makes Cudgel do area of effect damage. And so the whole idea here is we're going to use the Bone Dragon to pull people in, and then we're going to Cudgel them, and they're going to do overlapping AoEs on each other. So when the Cudgel hits the first guy, it does AoE to everyone. And then it hits the next guy, and that does AoE to everyone. And then the next guy. And so we've got this massive base damage weapon that's actually shooting 3 projectiles, all right? And we're doing these overlapping type of things. The main concern we're going to have by going for this direction is we don't have the move speed, but we just kind of solved that a little bit with Corrosion Enthusiast Enhanced. And our single target's not going to be great, so we have to really keep that in mind. So I do take this Bone Dragon, and now we see that now we see why this no reload synergy is not nearly as big of a as oppressive as other ones. Because I have to think, I only have 2 bullets. If I ever shoot twice in a row too fast, then I just cancel my no reload synergy completely, and it's gone. So this whole time that I'm trying to like float this combo that I've sort of gone for, I have to be thoughtful the whole time. And so you'll see me shooting relatively slowly through here. The main reason I'm showing you this is to give you a sense of the power level of the build at this point in the game. All right, and right there, that damage that we just saw is from Wombo Combo. So we hit here, all right, that's our essence chain. And then we should see that extra hit is the Cudgel Hits that are overlapping damaging from the Wombo Combo. So the Wombo Combo triggers of Cudgel actually work with the launcher benefits from using the weapon. Does that make sense? So like Wombo Combo gets everything that a Cudgel gets. I mean, it makes sense. All right. Well, I just talked it up, but which of these 2 would you pick if you were you? What you were playing right now in this game? Right. So I think there's a fair argument for ancient etching, but I really am not super into it. Wombo Combo 2 is just better. 2 Cudgel Hits is better than 1. It's twice as good as what we were getting before. And what we were getting before seems to be working pretty well after that room. So I definitely go for Wombo Combo 2. As a side note about ancient etching here, I really like to get ancient etching upgraded when I have a weapon I want and its etching isn't very good. So this is actually a good time to take it because I know that this Bone Dragon has like a plus something shock, like plus 50% damage against enemies in shock, and that's not that great. So by getting the next level of ancient etching, I switch that to a rare inscription, and I get a kind of a second chance at that inscription in particular. So you can kind of be targeted with when you upgrade ancient etching, and this is a fair time to do it, but I think Wombo Combo is just the more solid pick for sure. Okay. Wait, what did I do? All right. How do I go just a little bit forward? There we go. Aha. Okay, now we find this. All right. So give 1 occult scroll and gain some stuff. I don't really want to price my inscriptions, although it's not terrible. And upgrading the weapon level by 2 for an occult scroll is okay, but not amazing. But a chance at a really good one is something you don't get often. The luxurious gift boxes have become a lot better than they used to be. You know, I used to really preach, take a normal scroll as much as you can, because there used to be a bunch of overpowered stuff in the normal category, but it's not the case anymore after a couple of gunfire patches. So I decided to go for this luxurious box. Which of these should you give up, if any? All right, so I almost do Resolute, okay? But that's not the right move. I should be giving up this skill Bible thing, right? Whatever it's called. Rational consumption, because I'm going to lose skill damage until this is essentially 0, right? And that's going to happen relatively soon. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. And I think if I get it again later, it resets to 80. And so if that's the case, that sounds great. And we get energy storage. We get a really, really awesome payoff. our build is, by picking this Bone Dragon, we're sort of, or at least for now, really going hard into the Cudgel tree. So by getting this Cudgel, I think, or by getting that energy storage, we're in a really, really good spot. And so here we are at Dragon Qian, and I wanted to show you something, you know, some of the thought that has to go into using a no reload synergy in this particular case. I have one shot, okay? I've got my 3 projectiles set up on the inscription, all right? I've already got that going, okay? But if I shoot, then I have to reload. But if I don't shoot, but I have to shoot something to trigger against the flow, so that if against the flow will start refilling my magazine. So how do I not lose my projectiles? Well, I had a clever idea, didn't know this would work, but I use Cudgel first, and since Cudgel applies weapon hits, see there, I've got 2 shots of Bone Dragon. So it triggered against the flow for me by using my Cudgel. So that's something that, you know, is very rarely useful, but I thought that was a cool little play. And we can see that the build that we have set up, because I was able to keep all, because I was able to basically be doing these 3 hits every hit, I was able to actually take this enemy out in a short amount of time. So that's great. We get Decay Driver, that's great. We get Silver Metal, which is really good with our Resolute, so we do get a payoff. And this, let's go through this really slowly. Okay, I'm gonna pop back. Silver Metal, yeah. All right. Okay, so this is sort of like the big money. This is the combo. When enemies are grouped up like this is when our build should be doing crazy damage. So I just want to go through this really slow. We shoot this, okay? All right, then right here we get our essence chain hits, and those are like 1,000, 1,050, and then I think there's like a lower damage one in there, like 700 or something like that. Yeah, 787. Okay. All right. Let's keep going real nice and slow through this. There, that is the Cudgel Hits triggered from Wombo Combo. All right, you're seeing like the main hits are doing Lucky Shot. All that overlapping damage is hitting them. There's so many hits right there. And that's because, remember, we've got 3 projectiles, technically 3.2 projectiles on our Bone Dragon. So every Cudgel is going to hit 3 times with the Bone Dragon damage. All right? And it's doing all that in an area of effect. So, I mean, we can see how this would, start stacking up for some crazy damage. And then there is when our Bone Dragon goes off and does its damage. All right, and at this point, everyone's dead. All right, there's no one left. I cast my Soul Strike on an empty area, right? Soul Strike doesn't do anything. So let's just watch that in real speed. Bam, they're gone. Soul Strike doesn't even trigger. Wombo Combo takes care of everything for me. And one way to think of it in that situation is 2 Cudgel Hits from Wombo Combo is actually doing, if there's 4 enemies, all right, and it hits 2 enemies, that's 6 hits of Bone Dragon against all of them, sort of, right? So 6 hits against all of them, 6 times 4 is 24 hits of Bone Dragon just from your Wombo Combo. All right, so we've got Elemental Relic, Rock Hard Determination, and Ninja Disciple. I was going to ask you which one to take. We're going to take Ninja Disciple. There's maybe an argument that that's not the best pick. All right, here we've got Ascensions. Which one's the pick? I think there's only one legitimate choice. All right, we pick Converging Flows. Converging Flows is great. It basically allows us to do our no reload synergy even better. I would like a Shifting Stars, but I don't think I can justify it right now. And Reverse is actually looking okay because we're so far into Cudgel, but it's not good enough. Interestingly enough, the language on Converging Flows is a bit weird. What it says is, upon killing enemies, the next 5 shots consume no enemies. Or, on dealing damage with Essence Chain, the next 5 shots consume no enemies. Consume no ammo. So, whenever you kill an enemy, you get 5 shots without consuming ammo. Something very important to keep in mind. It's just not clear based on the way that it's written. All right, how are we feeling about Golem? All right, you kind of know what we've got. We've got that Bone Dragon. We've got that Aura Venom, right? I do think I fought the Elite Spearman in this run. I don't know why I didn't show it. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head. But if we did, then I'm pretty sure we did, and I just absolutely destroyed him. Absolutely destroyed him with that Aura Venom. No, that was a different run. Sorry. I've been playing a little bit, and I kind of got mixed up. Anyway, Golem is kind of tricky for us, right? Because we don't have any good way to deal with the rocks. Luckily, Essence Chain is pretty good with it because it auto targets all the things it can, and so it'll knock out a couple rocks out of the sky pretty easily. But the Bone Dragon itself has pretty poor single target damage, so we have to be really thoughtful about how we take on this particular boss fight. As you can see, we got like an ammo recovery option that's not very weak, ammo recover, and the jumping gives 50% damage, which is actually great because we jump a lot in this boss. And we go to the craftsman. So my biggest question is, do we upgrade either of these weapons before the boss? Yes, we really need to. We're going to upgrade this Bone Dragon, and I'm going to spend all my money to do it. Because I think otherwise this boss is going to take far too long to kill. And, you know, 3 upgrades constitutes essentially a 45% damage increase, which is significant. That could have essentially cut the time to defeat the boss in half or by 1/3, if I'm, that might be more correct. And especially bosses get a lot harder during that last bit of time. So being able to meaningfully chunk through him, you know, as he gets harder and harder because we've got him low HP is really important. So we go ahead and do the Bone Dragon, and there we go. All right, we're doing it. We're doing it. Next. I'm thinking. You can see that I'm thinking through all this stuff. You know, it's not clear. Like, granted, this is hard. You know, like it's not clear what the best decision is, and that's why I like this way of playing, because you really are, you know, challenged to kind of think through what the best decision is. And is there anything else I need to talk about? Nothing comes to mind. All right, so one cool thing you can do that I try to teach people is you can jump over the laser. So you'll see me here just jumping. Yep, jump right over the laser. As you can see, our damage is not very high. So, you know, it was really a good thing. Oh, and here we can see how I deal with these boulders. I mean, the Bone Dragon's doing okay, but not great. As you saw, we did take a hit there. But, like, this would have taken a lot longer had I not upgraded the weapon. And I did use the Bone Dragon pretty much the whole time. The Aura of Venom wasn't doing that much better at all. So we've got our next pick here. I think we've got 3 very legitimate options. All 3 of these are quite good. What do you think is the ideal pick? I think you can make a case for each of these. 3 temporary weapon levels is great. It's almost getting to, like, that's another like 45% damage, right? On our Bone Dragon, which means 45% damage on our Cudgel. That's great. Aura of Protection is an incredibly powerful skill, and one of the big mistakes I make this run is not taking at least one. All right. And I think maybe you could make a case that the better pick here is Aura of Protection. Now, I go with Smash into Dust. I know that my build's starting to get really chunky as far as the damage it does, and I'm interested to test out as we watch, because I haven't been paying attention, and I didn't notice during the run, whether Smash into Dust gives the initial 200% to all 3 of the hits of the first Cudgel, or if it's just the very first one. That being said, Smash into Dust is very good, and a 200% damage boost on your first Cudgel is very likely to kill something when you're using the AoE build, if you play around it correctly. Because if you have a couple enemies next to each other, one of them tends to be a weaker enemy, so it tends to die from the AoE damage, and then that works, that triggers that extra Cudgel big damage. And so this sort of self-synergizes very well with what I'm trying to do, which is this sort of AoE Cudgel build. We've gone through 5 minutes of footage and 40 minutes of talking. Classic OverExplain. We really get into it here. And I eventually pick Smash to Dust. All right, we did it. All right, next up we've got the Spiritual Remnant. We're picking our Blessing after the first act. What would you pick? I think there's only... Personally, I don't think that there's really a choice here. I think Painkiller is the only one that's really super positive for us. Eye of Providence is kind of a joke. It's okay, but not great. And rerolling all inscription is not what we want to do. We want to keep our inscription. We like our inscription the way it is. So we're going to take Painkiller here, and it's going to work great for us. Yeah, Eye of Providence. Yeah, definitely going to pick that. Sure. All right. I get a jumping puzzle, and Deadly Curse is one of the options that I could take for my. It's not one of the options; it's just given to me, and I can take it if I want. Knowing what I know about this, there's some things you don't know. I have silver medal, and I also have the unstoppable shield scroll, which is the one that won't halves your recovery speed of your shield, but it never gets interrupted. So would you take Deadly Curse? This isn't much of a test because I didn't show you everything that I had taken up to this point, but I do take Deadly Curse. I think I've got the shield support to do it. You can see it in the bottom left-hand corner here. This is that unfathomable shield or whatever it's called, and I go for it. I want the weapon damage. I want the skill damage. I think that's exactly the kind of stuff I'm needing. All right, so we're moving forward. We're about to go through this run. I have 1,649 gold, and I've got my +5 bone dragon from the golem fight. Do I upgrade it here? It's a very hard question. In Slight's Way, we can't reforge our Gemini, so the timing of when you etch stuff is really precarious because you have to spend 1,000 on an etching minimum, and only at the off chance of getting a Gemini that you want. If I etch and don't get the right Gemini or get a Gemini that I can really use, then that 1,000 gold is wasted. On the other side, if I just continue to upgrade and don't etch, then that etch gets more and more expensive. And so if I end up etching, then it becomes more and more costly. So the answer here is we really need to wait to see how well we're doing. So after playing that room, would you feel comfortable spending 1,000 on etching this weapon? Now, to be clear, the reason that you would etch is you would spend 1,000. You'd see what Gemini you have on this bone dragon, all right, and if it's good or bad, all right. If it's good, then you can start upgrading again because your upgrades don't have negative synergy with you. But otherwise, you're kind of you would etch and kind of you're rolling the dice to see if it's going to work out for you, right? To see if this is going to be a weapon that you can kind of keep going with. So after seeing that, I would ask yourself that question, and I'll give you my answer now. So 2 key things happened for me to feel comfortable. All right. Key thing 1. All right. I tested in the same way. Remember earlier when I told you why did I throw a cudgel against a random guy, when I didn't really need to and it had low value? It's because I'm testing the damage. All right, I just saw what my cudgel's doing, and I want to see what my weapon damage is doing. And I see that my weapon damage is also doing quite good. Okay, so I feel like the damage I'm doing is pretty legitimate. Those are the worst case scenarios. Those are on single targets. That's why I tested that. And those 2 tests, all right, and the fact that those were doing good single target damage informed me that I should try to go for the etch. All right, I would not have done that sooner. Okay, and I needed to know that information because the big mistake that I could make is going into this and let's imagine has terrible single target damage. Well, I'm up shit creek. Real quick. I'm sorry. I'm in a really bad position. So I decide to go for it, and I get the Elemental Share Gemini. What Gemini is best for this weapon? That's maybe the first question you should ask yourself. Kill swap just got removed. We can't use the crit X Gemini. We've got the elemental. We've got the spore. What's the other Gemini? Of course, the mag share Gemini. All right. So those are your kind of options, and I would say, here's my answer. I would say that we got the best one that we could. I think spores could have worked. I think mag share could have worked. 25% more, attack speed could have worked, and it would have made our ammo management essentially non-existent, right? We could have just fired mindlessly. So I was actually in a position where sort of anything would have worked, but elemental advantages is the best one. And the reason it's so good is because we can elemental advantage it with some high percent elemental effect fire weapon, and that's going to do a really good job at applying burning to enemies. And burning is really, really strong with these high damage hits, and so that's going to be a great way for us to use this. And recognize that I'm not using this elemental share Gemini in this optimal way. I'm trying to get the most value out of it as I can, given the circumstances, and because of that, I'm forced into a position where I'm having to sort of think through what my options are and use a suboptimal option to try to win, which is what I think roguelikes are all about personally. Is you get RNG and sometimes you get the God run, but most of the time you're having to make the most with suboptimal plays. And I was going to ask you if I should upgrade it, and you definitely should. I had enough. The main consideration is like, do I have enough money to buy 1 or 2 things from the next peddler I see? Because that could be really, really important, and I do. Okay, so we clear this room really easily, and then I have these options here. Would you take Enhanced Blazing Hoop, or would you reroll? Here's the answer. I definitely want to reroll. I already know that I'm going to go for a burning elemental share on my Bone Dragon, and so this is not helpful for me. This is just sort of like doing the same thing that I'd already be doing, but worse. So I definitely want to refresh this. And I am lucky enough to get a Thunder Screen, which is much, much better. The Enhanced Thunder Screen does AoE thunder damage every time you get hit, which means that once I get that Elemental Share Gemini going, I'll actually be able to apply Manipulation. So I'll actually be able to use an Elemental Effect, which will be sweet. It's a lot harder in Slight's way to use an Elemental Effect. All right, we've got 3 options here. What's the pick? Here's the answer. At least my answer. So I think, again, you could make a case for all 3 of these. Shattered Soul kind of works with what we're doing. We are casting a lot of Essence Chain, but we don't have a lot of multipliers for it. Our Protection is incredibly good, and might be the better pick here. I neglected to get our Protection here as well, and it might, one level of it probably should be rated a little bit higher than this damage. But I really wanted to continue the direction I was going, which was sort of offense is the best defense, kill things before they even get to me, and Bow Dragon's great at that because it disables enemies. So I ended up going with Concentrated Essence here, and I will say that this paid off very well, getting levels in Concentrated Essence. The damage bonus you get from this is very, very high. So this will be a great room to show off the pros and cons, and the power level of the build, and why it's not like super, super overpowered. Like, I still have to play smart, even though I'm, like doing this well. I have to think about ammo management. If I use too many of my essence chains early, then I won't have the converging flows that I need to keep my infinite ammo build going. And if I run out of ammo too early, or before the end of this room, it can be really dangerous for me. Speaking of not managing my essence chains well, I am casting a lot of essence chains, and I am now out. Okay, so now I have to fight the 3rd, 4th, and 5th wave without any essence chains. So I have to be really, really careful not to shoot too much. The good thing is Converging Flows does trigger when you kill an enemy. So at this point moving forward, I'm trying to really pay attention to this number in the bottom left-hand corner, right here. This one right here. All right, very important to pay attention to this one so that I don't overextend. And important to know is that the Essence Chain was giving me a lot of damage because of Wombo Combo. It was one of my main triggers for Cudgel. All right, see, I'm out. See, I stopped shooting there because I'm out of Converging Flows. Notice that they're gone. That was there's no other reason. I am literally watching that number, and it's incredibly important that I do. I go around looking for a pot, hopefully to get what am I trying to say? A Essence Chain ammo. All right, big damage, love to see it. I'm still probably casting Essence Chain a little bit too. I'm doing better to here. I want to do like 2 or 3 shots at the very least. But see, there I start spamming again because I'm getting a little bit silly. And now I'm again. I have 3 shots left of Converging Flows. no essence chain, and I have this giant robust monster to kill. And because of the decisions that I've made, I'm now in a position where I have to shoot really slowly and carefully, lest I basically throw my damage away, excuse me. And my single target damage is at its weakest. So I show you all this to just make it clear how, like why I felt comfortable using this particular no reload synergy, because I felt like it wasn't super overpowered, and I just wanted you to see like where the build's at this point in the game. All right, next pick. What's the go? Here's the answer. I think it's a pretty straightforward pick. Concentrated Essence is the way to go. Total Eradication, we're really doing big hits of damage, and really Total Eradication does better when you're doing lots of little hits, because as their HP goes down, those little hits get bigger and bigger, right? So Concentrated Essence is the way to go. I don't think that any of the other ones are even close. We'll go ahead and upgrade our weapon here. Love to be able to upgrade this thing even more. Now that we've got that Etch, we're not losing money essentially losing money by upgrading. And so I've got a really cool thing to show you guys here. If there's a way to actually optimize your search scroll, you'll see that I don't have a lot of money, and there is a way to optimize it. Just make sure. All right. And so, sorry about that. The best way to optimize is go ahead and roll it the first time. You get Spirit Bible, okay? You pick Spirit Bible, and if you can do this every run, kind of what I've just showed you right there, you're going to be in a really strong spot. I mean, it's hard to get this every run, but this should be a good goal, right? Every run, and that's one way that you can use the search scroll really effectively. Oh gosh, I don't know how well that joke went. I'm being a little hard on myself on that one. Not the best win. All right, so what's the pick here? So we had Elemental Torrent. What was the other pick? Coin Shot and Fire Enthusiast. Here's the answer. I think that Coin Shot's perfect. All right, we don't have a lot of money. We're not really worried about money. 30% Lucky Shot is really, really good. It applies to Cudgel. Give me that 30%. I don't have a way to apply an elemental effect right now. I want something that affects me now. I know we're going up to a boss, right? The boss is looming in my head. My single target damage is weak. How do I fix my single target damage? Okay, and Lucky Shot's one way to do that, and it's going to help me. All right, so this is more damage. That's what I need. All right, we've got Flowing Wind, Hidden Transaction, and Tactical Reload. All right, what's the pick? This one's harder. Here's the answer, or at least my answer. All right, so Flowing Wind is great because it's essentially 20% damage reduction. Hidden Transaction is great because it's really, we do need that base damage increase on our Bone Dragon. That's really what we're looking for, all right? And the one that's not good, all right, is the one Tactical Reload. We don't want to be reloading ever. So the question is, do we pick Flowing Wind or Hidden Transaction? I decided to go with the thing that was going to impact me more now. I don't have a lot of gold. If I had 1,600 gold sitting up there, I probably would have gone for Hidden Transaction for the immediate payoff. Because I have essentially no gold, and I just picked up Lucky Coin Shot, which might be a problem for me as far as my gold management. I end up going Flowing Wind here. Flowing Wind is just basically free 20% damage reduction as long as you're moving, which is great and really does add up. So here we've got some options. Terminal Lucidity. Had to take care of some business. I'm back. I think what I was asking you is, should we take Terminal Lucidity? We only have 342 gold. Is it worth it? We're really low on gold. We really need to get as many upgrades as possible for our build to work. Is this one worth it? Here's my answer. I think undeniably yes. This says when a player loses over 20% of their max HP in 1 second. My understanding is that this will actually, max HP is not total HP. So actually I was misunderstood. If this worked off your total HP and included your shield, then absolutely yes. Otherwise, this is sort of like a once in a while you'll get an extra primary skill charge when you're about to die. So actually, it's really not clear if it's worth the pick. depends on how it works. My assumption is that this is actually not good, but I take it because I think it's based on total HP, which combines health and shield, not just max HP, which I think is just shield. So here we're finally at the Elite Gathering on Act 2. So we're going to play against 2 bosses. These are single target. We've done some things that are kind of helping our single target, but these are actually not too bad with the explosive cudgel build because we have some overlapping AoE that we can do. As you can see, our damage is not super high, but if we can get these 2 enemies, into the same position, whoo, that's a lot of damage. Okay, so here, I don't shoot this out of the air because it hits really quickly, but I think we are in a really good spot here because of Phantom Skin is helping us stay alive, as well as Painkiller. We're on fire, and we're actually gaining a huge amount of HP, because normally we would be taking that damage. Yeah. So we're actually like healing from burning. So Painkiller there was a really big help for us. And as you can see, once we're doing some overlap damage, our damage gets a little bit higher, but our single target damage is pretty darn low. I run out of Essence Chain again, due to spamming it a little bit too much. And I'm really recognizing at this point that that's kind of a problem. Like, I really need to be able to kind of keep that going because for a whole boss fight, I need to like be able to, keep basically keep my no reload synergy going. So we get a Woodpecker. Is Hawkeye Sight worth picking? Answer, no. Horrible. All right, and we get an Ascension here. What's the pick? I think you can make a case for Aura of Protection again. I've been clearly given so many opportunities to take this Ascension and haven't taken it, but I think Rotation Technique is probably the best pick. And it's because of the position that we are in the game. We really need to be able to cast as many chains as possible. And this allows us to have a lot more chains at our disposal during boss fights so that we can keep our no reload synergy going through the entire boss fight. Here's the very next chest in the same room, and we get these 3 options. Our main focus is being able to be effective in the boss fight, so what's the pick? You might think that I would suggest Rotation Technique here, but I think now that we already have 1 level of Rotation Technique, that's going to help us a lot. We could go for the second one later, but Unstoppable Phantom is exceptional at single target damage. This is the perfect thing that we need to basically double the damage of our Cudgels and our Wombo Combos during a boss fight. Unstoppable Phantom is the pick, hands down. All right, so we get this. We are about to go into the boss room. We refill our bangles because we're smart. I just wanted to say that. Make sure you check your ammo and your bangles and stuff before a boss. It's easy to forget. And let's see how our damage is on this boss for its first phase. Okay, so we were able to do a quarter of his health on the first phase, which is, I think, kind of where we're trying to be as far as our damage is concerned. If we were doing less than that, we'd probably be in a pretty dire situation. So all of these decisions that we've made to improve our single target damage have really come together for us to be able to meaningfully combat this boss. And if we hadn't done that, then we'd be in a really, really tough position. A cool thing that you can do against this boss is this. With the explosive build, you can actually get the Cudgel to bounce between the globs. And if the blobs are close enough to the Ichthyosaurus offspring, then the overlap AoE damage will do mad deeps to him. I didn't get it off this run, but cool little tech that you can do. We end up dispatching him. It was a pretty tough battle, but nothing too crazy. Extravagant Consumption is an interesting choice, but we really need our copper to be able to do upgrades, so I end up not taking it. I think there is an argument for taking it, but I don't think so. I think I need as many upgrades as I can, and I think I'm sitting on a +8 Bone Dragon at this point. One thing to keep in mind here is that whenever you're playing Slight's Way, you can't reforge Geminis. So the first Geminis you get offered in the whole game are right now. Right after you beat the Act 2 boss, you're going to usually have 3 or 4 chances, depending on which character you're playing, to get that Gemini up. So that's something to kind of be playing for, all right? If you have a weapon that you think you can take all the way, you etch it and it has the right Gemini, this is your first opportunity to get something that's going to Gemini with it. All right, we've got 3 options here. All three are quite good. What's the pick? In my opinion, I think Wombo Combo 3 is pretty much a no-brainer, despite the other two being very powerful. I think it basically means that every time we cast Essence Chain, we're going to trigger essentially a free Cudgel or a free Soul Strike. So that's incredibly powerful. Here we've got our next blessing. What's the pick? I think there's an argument for overconsumption. Overconsumption is a little overpowered in my opinion. Skill Freak's not great because we're not really getting a lot of value out of Essence Chain, but Craftsman Inheritor is actually great. It solves our gold problem that we've had. Now we'll be able to upgrade weapons as much as we want for the rest of the run. We can even etch something if we want to, or re-roll if we get that option later. That would be something that we can do in Act 4. So I go for Craftsman Inheritor. All right, I pick Craftsman Inheritor here. It starts spitting out my scrolls. And take a look at this and tell me which ones you think that you would get rid of. All right, here's the ones that I get rid of. I think I get rid of, well, let's see. I can't quite remember. Which ones do I do? Okay, Resolute, because we don't have any combo with it. It's okay to keep Resolute because we have the silver medal, but it's still not good, right? I get rid of Overwhelming Shield because minus 50% recovery speed. It's not worth it not stopping. We already have silver medal, so we don't need the other one. And then I think I get rid of, oh, I can't remember. Let's see. Oh yeah, Decay Driver, because I'm not actually getting any benefit from Decay Driver right now. I'm trying to keep stuff that, like, get rid of anything that's not affecting me right now. Oh, I end up keeping Decay Driver because it's such a big benefit if I can get a synergy going. But ammo recover is not necessary because I already have a way to keep my ammo high. So there's no reason to keep it. All right, here we get a Phantom Peddler. Do we take Enhanced Skateboarder? I'm going to say no, we don't. We already have a way to get our infinite synergy going. I think more is just not necessary at this point. We've already got what we need. We need something more. We need to extend our build, not make our build easier for us to accomplish. So I would say we definitely re-roll this. And I'm checking all these. Why? For Geminis, because at this point I can do a Gemini. So if I see something that I can Gemini with, then I want to take that. Like this Elemental Justice, 33% chance to deal burning. This is perfect. We are going to take this and we're going to be able to use a Gemini with it. That's great. And Enhanced Third Lucky Time, that's plus 50% weapon damage. That's great. And we get Occult Scrolls for each peculiar chest we open. That's great. So two that really paid off for us to reroll there. Now, the one thing about getting this Justice, what's the one downside about taking it? Here's my answer. The downside is that, unlike the normal Peddler, in the Phantom Peddler, you can't use Z to switch out your secondary without switching away from it. So we actually have to lose all of our no reload synergy on our Bone Dragon so that we can take this Justice. And I don't think I'm wrong in saying that. I think that is currently the way the Phantom Peddler works at this point in time. I could be wrong about that, but I tried it and it didn't work. So we have to go into the next room without our no reload synergy. And if the next room was going to be really strong, like if we knew it was going to be the 2 elites, I might consider not taking this and then coming back into this room afterward, right? Because that's always an option, right? Come back afterward, keep our no reload synergy, keep our 3 projectiles. But I thought that the increased burning damage would be enough for us to meaningfully be able to do damage in this next room. And let's see how it goes. Ooh, love to see that big damage. All right, and so we were still able to go through that pretty easily. All right, we've got 3 options here, but realistically, there's only really one option that we're going to go for. Turn to Reality could be good. I'd love to see that at a different time. Even Critical Cudgel is worth an interesting conversation, but Concentrated Essence 3 is just incredible. 9 temporary weapon levels is 9 times 15% damage increase, plus 6 seconds duration for Essence Chain, meaning it lasts for a long time. And for every enemy affected by Essence Chain, we get 1 additional temporary weapon level. We're going into these levels with huge amounts of enemies. Concentrated Essence 3 is just going to be incredible for the rest of the game, so we have to take it. There's really no other option. So here we go ahead and take Flame Shard and Magical Watch. Both of these are great. I just want your opinion on what you would get rid of to keep these. Here's my answer. I don't think I need 15% Lucky Shot. I don't think that I need Decay Driver, and I don't think I need 50% damage when I'm jumping at this point. I think everything else is doing a little bit more than those things are, so I think that's pretty sure that's what I get rid of. There's a good case for Rock Hard Determination. Also, I get rid of 1 extra scroll just so that I have room to take scrolls in the middle of combat if I need to from the Peddler without it, you know, sort of dumping out something that I really want. That's something that you really need to keep in mind with Craftsman Inheritor. If you pick up a scroll in mid-fight and then you dump out one of your best ones, like because it tends to dump out from the top left of your inventory, you're in a bad spot. So I like to have 1 extra, so like 19 out of 20 scrolls, kind of the ideal. And so here's just an indication of where the build's at this point. We've kind of got a lot of the stuff that we wanted to get online, and we've been able to upgrade our weapon, I think, at 3 craftsmen since we started, or maybe 2 craftsmen, which has been a lot. But like right now, we probably have like a plus 9, plus 12 extra levels from Essence Chain, which is just really cool. As you can see, our single target damage is still lacking, so my main concern as we go through this game is to keep that single target damage up, and ooh, that's a lot of damage. But we didn't die. We're fine. You know. What's the pick? What's the pick? So I think right here I want to take Rotation Technique 2. I think Critical Cudgel is a moderate amount of damage increase. It's like better single target damage, that's for sure, but only at a certain amount of crit. It's only like 15%. I think if I could go back again, I think I'd be pretty like half and half on which ones I pick. But Rotation Technique just really allows me to spam chain, and that allows me to hit more people, all right, without feeling too concerned about how many chains I'm using. And that makes me feel like I can get like a whole bunch of extra bonus damage from my Essence Chain extra, you know, weapon levels. So I go for Rotation Technique level 2. As you can see, I think about it for a bit first. Come on, Slight. Oh, I even go out and back in. Wow, that was a tough pick for me. All right, so we got Elite Gathering here, and we've got our setup. I love the new changes to these monsters, man. They are just so scary. All right, we're getting our double hits pretty good. Now that is a huge AoE and it clips us. All right, it clips us. We are taking burning damage, which should be healing us here in just a second. We're in a position where we're below them and we really need to get on even ground because right now it's really hard to shoot their projectiles out of the sky. And we get sniped. We get sniped. Okay, so the biggest mistake that I made in this run right here. I made mistakes with the box earlier, but here in that particular battle, I really didn't respect them. I needed to get on even playing field with them. They had the high ground advantage, which means it was really hard for me to see what they were doing. And that's such an important thing when we're trying to have a pitched battle. So the big thing that I would do if I was able to do that room over again is immediately just beeline around them, all right? Throw 1 Essence Chain on them and then start running around them so that I'm actually in the open field, because just being below them in that valley was just like perfect for them. They could just rain fire down on me, and it was really hard for me to like return fire or really like see what they were doing before it was a little bit too late. But that was a really, really fun run on Slight's Way with the monkey. I think I learned a lot from it. I hope that you learned a lot too. And I really challenge you to try this out if you like a challenging build, you know, a challenging way to play. Try Slight's Way. I will include the link to the generator below if you want to try to play with that. And I've got some other stuff coming up that's hopefully helpful and fun for you guys. Cool thing about this end screen now is that it, for the monkey, is that the cudgel damage is included in your weapon damage. So you can see that this bone dragon did 91% of my damage, which is true, even though a lot of that was from cudgel. So I think that's pretty cool that you can see that. And this bone dragon build was super fun, super spicy, and I almost made it. Almost made it. If I'd played better, I would have made it. And that's what I like about Slight's Way, is that it's not impossible in the least. It's just hard, and you have to play adaptably. And that's what I think roguelikes are about. I think that's what I'm having my most fun, and hopefully you'll have some fun too. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Take it easy. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, and don't subscribe. For me, oh, this is a test. Great. If you're gonna subscribe for you, so that you feel like you're getting value out of these videos. It doesn't support me. This channel will never be monetized, or at least has no intention to now. So if you do it, just do it for you. You're not necessarily helping me out. Okay. All right, now bye.